Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video is going to take a look at the recently completed, although I have a little touch more to do on the ocean boards, modular board set that I've been working on. It has been kind of an epic journey, but mostly because I've completely revamped them almost from top to bottom. I have utilized a new rock casting and painting technique, new river style and somewhat technique, new hills design, of course the ocean boards, the siding for these, a complete makeover. And I'm pretty pleased with how they've come out, actually. And I don't usually say that. Of course, there's always a few things to tweak, but I'm not going to focus on that on this video. And just before we come in to take a look at it, can I just say, I already shot this intro. And my camera has almost fried. Seems like it's okay. I don't know. Maybe it didn't like being connected to my laptop. No monitor right now. Tech. People wonder, how long does it take you to shoot a video? Normally, not this long. So, I don't know why. I just wanted to share that with you. So if I have difficulties posting videos in the next week or two, that might be part of the reason, but I'm hoping not, because I have 3 more videos to shoot within the next 2 days. So wish me luck on that. In any case, let's take a look at the boards, and I'll give you an introduction to them. So I was getting started to set this up, and then I realized you might want to see who's helping me with my monitoring of video quality. George, he decided that the best place to assist me was in the heart of the technological hub. Right, George? Psst. There you are. Oh, sleepy cat. Long, hard day for him. Anyway, give me a second here, and we'll take a look at these boards. So just before we take a look at this board, I just want to say I just had 20-25 minutes of camera issues whereby it wasn't recognizing the lens, it couldn't stop from manual focus, it had an error code. I don't know, maybe it was, you know what it was? It was too much awesomeness of George. Camera couldn't handle it. Who can? In any case, hopefully we'll be all set going forward. And so let's start. So this is a plain board, all right, and well, I figured we'd start at the basics and go our way up. One of the things that I did change about all of the boards, however, was the flocking that I did on them. I actually added in an extra layer of static grass, and you'll see some of this probably in more detail in future boards when we come up a little closer. And I think that it's one more height over the standard 2 mil. I think this is 4 mil if I recall. And it just gives a little bit more color variation. I really like that. And then what I did, again, not something I've been doing in the past, is I did put in little clumps of vegetation on the plain boards, as I often felt when I tiled up all the boards that the special boards, right, with the rock outcroppings and all that, just were like dense, dense, dense vegetation, and then it was a wasteland all the way around it. So what I've tried to do is moderate the feel across all of the boards, but I went very sparingly because I do want miniatures to be able to be placed on these, and you know, all of this is fairly crush resistant, so you don't have to really worry about it during game, and if some of it does get a little crushed, well, hey, you know, when a tank rolls over grass, that's what it looks like. So that's just a couple thoughts. You'll also notice that I covered a lot more of the soil on these boards than I have in the past. I felt like if this is going to be France, right, there isn't a lot of open dirt, but I wanted to leave some just to add a little contrast, a little more interest. So that's sort of the overview of the basic theme of what I've been doing in terms of color and texture. For the board edges, I had put in styrene edges, as I mentioned before. There is a video on that. I'll put a link right there. And I painted them black, and then I gave them a quick coat of gloss coat just to give them a little more protection, as especially at the corners they were tending to scuff just a little bit. And the gloss coat, it's not the greatest coat of gloss, I'm going to say, and you can see some of the sanding that I've done on the edges. I understand that. I would love these to be jet black and glossy glory, but hey, I've got to call it somewhere, and nobody really sees the edges except at the edge of the table, and quite frankly, that doesn't look too bad. Looks a heck of a lot better than the last board set, so I'll take that as an increase in quality. It does provide a lot more edge protection, but when I was sanding these to get them to tile, I did puck off a little bit, and then you get a little white where the styrene was exposed. So I'm going to include a little repair kit, just in case there's some chips. The customer can repair it right at home with complete instructions, so that if there are little nicks, he doesn't have to worry about them showing or sending them back to me. Of course, I always back up all my work, so if something happens, I'm happy to have it come back to me, and I'll make sure it looks right. So, on the underside, I want to show you something. So this is what the underside of the board looks like. I know it's not pretty, but hey, it's the bottom. But basically, what you see here are ribs that I've put into all of the boards, and these ribs are designed to keep the board straight and flat on the table. Let's get the turntable out of the way. All right. Now, actually, what I've discovered is that most of the surfaces I put these on are not flat. I've been really having a hard time finding areas that are perfectly flat to tile these all up together, because little imperfections will cause that rock, and it's probably, you know, some height difference over here and over here. But on the flattest surface I have, it was sitting flat. And what happens, very quick explanation, when I use the foam coat is a gypsum cement. I have a video for that that I talk about in the way pack. If I can find it, I'll put a link. If there's no link here, it's up to you to go take a look for it. But in any case, the foam coat, when it cures, it expands, and that causes the boards to warp ever so slightly. But it's noticeable. It may rise by about, say, 1/8 of an inch. So I actually was worried that was the foam coat problem, and this is not a video on foam coat, but I can't help it. I was worried that was a foam coat issue, but when I did research on gypsum cements, they all have a little expansion. So in order to correct that, I had to hyperflex the boards, right, and then glue in ribs, and then that maintains its perfect flat tiling. So I feel really good about that, as that's been a real problem in all my previous modular boards, is that the foam actually comes warped often, and then the foam coat warps it again, and then I'm trying to sand it and melt the bottoms to flex it, and I was never happy with it. So this is the best system I have come up with to ensure that these boards are both durable, sit flat, look more attractive. Pretty happy with it overall. And just before we leave the plain boards, I just wanted to show you one more so you could see a little more variation in the flocking. Oh, we're not making that corner. There we go. And you also notice I put in a couple darker patches around some of these, trying to give it just a little bit more, draw the eye to it. I've put in some different accents around it, again, to just kind of pull in a little more interest, because they're small. They're kind of hard to see. But I just wanted to show you. Of course, you can see that taller static grass over here. Gives it, again, just a little bit more variation, give it a little bit more natural feel. And this is one of the rolling board hills. So it's basically a plain board, and then I modify it by adding some very low topographic features on it, just to give a little bit of variation when you're looking at all the plain boards and they tile together. It's a fairly low profile rise with gradual slopes, so it's all stable for miniatures. And it gives me, just a little chance to kind of do a little bit of accent work on them that's maybe a little bit more pronounced than just the plain boards. Again, thinking my main goal, and when we see all these boards tiled together, I hope you'll see it as well, tying the whole set together much more so than I have done in the past. We won't see these boards tiled in this video. We'll do it at the end of this video series. So I just wanted to show you that rolling hill, give you a sense of, again, how the little minor variations can look, as well as another look at the, relatively heavy cover of static oh my god, here I am trying to be quick, flock and static grass vegetation. How's that? And the customer had made an inquiry about, I showed him some preliminary photos, and he was like, "Oh, is that, are all the boards present?" So I thought, why not? We'll take a look at a couple examples from each of the types of boards. So this is another one of the rolling hills, and you can see a little different, contour. I tried to give it, again, trying to vary it a little bit so it's not just a hump, but there's some actual, curvature in it. And again, I've taken the liberty of using, especially some of these low-lying areas, since if you were to stack something on it, it gives them just a little bit more protection, so I can kind of capitalize on that. And anyway, give me a chance to put a little bit more accent on the board. And this is the other plain board variation that I'm currently doing. And this is the sort of slight depression board. So what I've done is I've removed material to give it, to me it's kind of a gully wash, maybe, sort of. I don't know if that's quite right, actually. Maybe a gully wash you need a river for. In any case, a slight depression in the ground so you can kind of see. It's about, I don't know, maybe a ½ an inch deep at the deepest point. But again, trying to keep it subtle and smooth and, playable for miniatures, and of course giving me some more opportunities for some of those accents. And we'll wrap up this video of the boards section here by taking a look at the rock boards and the difficult terrain board that is shown here. This is a brand new rock making technique for me, as well as a brand new style of painting them, and I really like it. The very short of the long, and I will do a video explaining this in more detail soon, but the very short of the long is that you can cast these rocks into molds using a resin backed by expanding foam. When you demold it, you can then shape it by heating it so you can create whatever form you want, and then painting it by first painting it with gesso and then applying a series of washes over that. I picked this up from Bragdon Industries. He was at a railroad show, Mr. Bragdon, and he was demonstrating this technique. And my wife and I were about to leave the railroad show. She was like, you always find something that's interesting here. And I said, yeah, well, maybe I'll find. And when I saw him demonstrating this, I ran over, sat down in the chair, picked my jaw up off the floor, and then barraged him with questions as soon as the workshop was over. I was like, oh my God, I need that mold, I need this technique, So I will be talking about this more. But these are molds cast from real rocks, and they give fantastic detail and a lot of flexibility in how you can use them. So what I've done is I've taken that cast, I've embedded it into the board, filled it with some soil, and given the look that this bedrock is being exposed. And I think this looks much better than the difficult terrain that I have done in the past. Is it difficult or not? We could put bigger rocks. We're all playing a game here, so there is going to, of course, be some, subjective scale issues, which are, common. And we could talk about scale in another video. I'm not going to do that now. But in any case, really, really like the feel that gives. And you also notice that I have gone a lot lighter with vegetation around this than I have in the past with my difficult and rock board pieces, because, again, I want the feel to carry across all of the boards. And if I make this an island, a jungle island, I don't think that's going to work very well for the overall look. But I did put a little more, of course, here than I have in the past, and I have been using new plants. I've gotten some new things. This is a new plant from Scenic Express. I've been making some out of sagebrush. I've got some new colors, really trying to punch up the variety, and I think it's making a lot more of an interesting overall look, at least in my opinion. I'm liking it. And so we'll take a quick look at a couple of the rock boards as well. Now, the rock boards are, it's always been a bit of a contention for me how big to make them. And so let me see if I can find Mr. Tippy McLean. Oh, Sir Tippy, here you go. Thank you. So that gives you a 30 millimeter model scale. So it's, they're fairly substantial. Of course, these could be made to any height, but there is one risk, actually, which I should mention, is that as we get bigger, right, the base gets larger and we begin to approach the board edges. And I find that starts to create a more unnatural appearance as I become forced. And you'll see this on the larger hill pieces where I have had that happen. It just gets real tight to try to, get in some vegetation, make it look soft and blended, coming out into the adjacent boards. So I try to keep these reasonably sized so that I can keep it looking natural all the way around them. That's my idea. So here, what I've done is I've put in, some flowers. I figure I've been trying to think of each type of area has some unique vegetation to it that makes it stand out from the others. I don't know, prairie flowers coming up in the spring, protected by the rocks, make up whatever story you want, but I do think it gives it just a little difference from the other boards and the other vegetation in the other sections of the boards, I should say, and I like that variety, so personal taste. But again, you can see the new rock texture. Let me give you just a quick look at this one before we go to one more. I think we're focused. No, not too bad. Not too bad. So that gives you an idea of what they look like up close. Of course, the colors of these can be varied, and I'm still learning how to paint these. I will be doing the next set in a different technique, actually, because I'm learning more. But in any case, I really feel like this type of washing rather than dry brushing, and there are some areas where I've given very slight dry brushes too, but it's a little more subtle than the typical rocks that you see on model terrain, but it doesn't have some of the unnatural blast of sharp highlights that I think really doesn't represent nature. So that is my artistic decision making in painting these, and of course, feedback on that's always welcome, but that gives you some insight at least in why I chose the technique that I did. And so here's another rock board. Here, of course, these are slightly smaller, put in two, kind of give, again, a slight variation. Now you can see here I did kind of get a little close to the edge after I mentioned that in the previous, but, I wanted to off-center these because when the boards are tiled together, it's going to look weird if everybody's like in a straight line, right? So I want to balance the board. I want to offset it, weight-wise so that, for instance, if you turn this board around, you technically get a slightly different, distance of play from different areas of the board. So it even adds some layout variation, but I just think it's more visually appealing as well to have that. It's all about composition balancing, and I'm still learning, actually, in photography. That's a big focus for me right now. In any case, I digress. So some of the new vegetation you can see a little bit better here. What I've been doing is taking super sage, which is normally a pretty dry and brittle plant material people use for railroads for trees. I've been treating them with paint and gloss mixtures, mediums I mean, to give them some resilience and some flexibility, and then I can cover them with different kinds of flocks. And are we going to focus? Okay, all right. Somewhere in the world there is a method for controlling this kind of thing. Let me see here if I give a little encouragement to the camera. No? All right. Well, hopefully, even at this distance. Wait a minute. I'll do it. Here we go. All right. We're in focus. This is a candid video. I am now going to do a post-edit zoom so you can see it. All right. So that gives you a little sense, again, of some of the new techniques and vegetation I've been putting on the boards. And we'll stop here, and in the next video, we'll take a look at the next series of new techniques. So that gives you a look at the modular boards, at least a section of them. The next section that I will be shooting, assuming my camera doesn't fry. Do I look stressed? It really had me freaked out. I'm hoping I reset it all. I was like, factory default, factory default. Seems to be okay. Thank you for patience with my stress. what are the next boards going to be? The next boards are going to be the hill boards, the chasm board, the river boards, and I think that will wrap up all of the styles. And we're going to save the ocean boards and set up the entire board set, tiled all together. I think I can do that on my kitchen table. And we can take a look at them in their entirety then, and that will give you a complete look. So, thank you once again for joining me. I really appreciate it, especially when I have technical issues. You being on the other end of this camera is what keeps me trucking through some of those difficulties. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Mike at TerranScapes. I try to tweet, basically maybe once a day. I've been a little off that lately. Of course, you can leave questions and comments down below. Always happy to answer them. Do my best. Sometimes I give long answers. You might be surprised. And hopefully you will come back and join me, because I will be back with another TerranScapes video soon. Oh my gosh. Screw it. New modular boards. Please record. Please be okay. 3, 2, 1.